the family says that the photo of the young man that is coming up the stairs, which was shared, that blurry image, is definitively not Tyler Robinson. And let me just say, I never thought it looked like him. Neither did you. Okay. Face looks different. Face looks more narrow. Also, that person looks taller. Every time I say, I'm like, this person is taller than Tyler Robinson. Tyler Robinson also appears to have full lips, even though this image is blurry. We're not looking for someone that got fuller lips, and Tyler Robinson looks broader than that individual walking, right? So I'm on board with that person walking up the stairs is not Tyler Robinson, because I feel like it was intentionally blurred. They also never gave us the footage at all, because in order to blur it, they probably needed a static image. Also, the family believes that, and this is really interesting, Tyler Robinson's apartment was staged after his arrest. Now, you will recall that I spoke to Lance's family. And one of the things that Lance's family said was, hey, we own that apartment. They pay rent to us. We've never met Tyler Robinson, but I can tell you that it seems like they were trying to hide the fact that this apartment got raided.
They are lying about Tyler Robinson. You've been told the story. You've seen the headlines. You've heard the name they want etched into your memory. Tyler Robinson, the alleged assassin of Charlie Kirk. But let me ask you something. When was the last time the truth needed this much editing? Think about what we're expected to believe. A national figure is killed at a public event, surrounded by cameras, and somehow the official story was written before the blood was even cleaned from the floor. They didn't wait for ballistics. They didn't show footage. They didn't release full witness accounts. They didn't even confirm if the bullet matched the weapon they claim belonged to Tyler. Yet within hours, his face was everywhere. His name was everywhere. The verdict was announced before an investigation ever began. Why? Because when the real shooter can't be revealed, a replacement must be created. And that's exactly what they did. Don't forget to drop your comment as you listening to this broadcast, because we will definitely respond to everything. We will be glad to hear your feedbacks on the report and contributions. We stand for justice. We stand for Charlie. This isn't about evidence. This is about control. This isn't about finding the truth. This is about burying it. And Tyler Robinson? He isn't their suspect. He's their shield. Before you accept what you were told, ask yourself, where's the uncut footage? Why hasn't the ballistic report been released? Why are the timelines broken and edited? Why is there no confession, yet a conviction is being spoken like fact? They want you to stop thinking. They want you to stop asking. They want you to stop asking. They want you to consume the narrative like a headline, not question it like a crime. But here, we're going to do what they refuse to do. We're going to examine the lies, pick apart the holes, and expose exactly why Tyler Robinson is not the man who pulled that trigger, but the man they needed to blame. This isn't a theory. This isn't a hunch. This is a breakdown of the story they built and the truth they buried. Because if Tyler Robinson didn't kill Charlie Kirk, then someone else did. And the people pointing the loudest might be the ones hiding the most. Now, let's start where their story began, with the rush to name a killer before the evidence was even cold. What do you think? Is the case moving forward carefully, or is progress being slowed by procedural delays? Share your thoughts in the comments below. That's where we hear your thoughts and where you watching from. To stay updated on every development, subscribe now and turn on notifications so you stay informed as new updates become available. This is Detective Max, and together we stand and fight for justice. They didn't secure the scene. They didn't collect every angle of footage. They didn't question every person within range of the gunshot. They skipped straight to the part where you're supposed to accept the ending. Before a single lab result was processed, before any eyewitness testimony was verified, before surveillance was reviewed, one name was delivered like a pre-written headline. Tyler Robinson. Not a person of interest, not a possible witness. No, they labeled him the shooter, the murderer, the assassin of Charlie Kirk. And the media didn't ask how they knew. They didn't ask who identified him. They didn't ask how a conclusion could exist before the investigation. They just broadcast it. Within hours, every outlet, local, national, international, repeated the same words. like it had been scripted in advance. No one questioned the speed. No one demanded evidence. No raw footage. No chain of custody photos. No witness video placing a gun in his hands. Just headlines, mugshots, and courtroom sketches painting a villain before the case file was even opened. And here's what they won't highlight. Tyler Robinson has never confessed. There is no recorded admission. There is no statement claiming responsibility. There is no plea acknowledging guilt. Yet somehow, the public was told the story was over before it started. They didn't prepare a case. They prepared a perception. That's not due process. That's not investigation. That's narrative control. So the real question isn't how did they find him? It's who decided he was guilty before anyone looked at the facts. Someone made that call. Someone skipped the steps. Someone needed a name before evidence had a chance to speak. And if a suspect can be manufactured this quickly, what else in this case was built instead of discovered? Why Tyler? Why this way? This is not a cover-up for his innocence. But what if this is true? Let's proceed. Tyler Robinson has no influence, no legal army, no political reach, no media backing, and that's exactly why he was chosen. He isn't a threat to the system. He's a tool for it. He has no platform to defend himself, and no public persona to rally behind him. When the state needs a name fast, they don't go after the powerful. They go after the disposable. This wasn't about solving the crime. It was about shutting down suspicion. The moment Tyler's name hit the air, the public stopped asking the most important question: who else could have done it? Once a face is attached to the crime, every other angle gets buried before anyone can look twice. And notice the timing. The accusations came before verified ballistic results, before full footage was reviewed, before the timeline was even consistent. That's not incompetence. That's orchestration. Blame him early, and you never have to explain what was happening behind the scenes. Tyler wasn't selected because he fit the evidence. He was selected because he fit the vacancy, the role of distraction. The case needed a scapegoat faster than it needed proof. That's how cover stories work. You don't wait for facts when fear and headlines can do the heavy lifting. And look at what happened next. Silence. Not from him, but around him. He was cut off, restricted, contained. They're not keeping him isolated because they fear retaliation. They're keeping him isolated because they fear exposure. They don't want him on record. They don't want him contradicting their script. They don't want him talking about where he actually was, who he saw, or what didn't happen. They're not preserving safety. They're preserving a lie. When someone is truly guilty, prosecutors drag every detail into the light. They hold press conferences. They release the footage. They show you the weapon. They share witness statements and lab results to shut down doubts. But with Tyler, nothing. Just silence and suppression disguised as procedure. He hasn't been kept quiet because of what he did. He's been kept quiet because of what he didn't do. And because admitting that would expose the ones who rushed to frame him. The truth he holds isn't dangerous to the public. It's dangerous to the narrative. And that's why Tyler was chosen. Not because he pulled the trigger, but because he couldn't stop the lie. This is the crack in their entire story. The part they hope you don't examine closely. They claimed they found the weapon connected to Tyler Robinson. But look at the words carefully. They don't say the weapon was on him. They don't say his fingerprints were on it. They don't say his DNA was on it. They don't say he fired it. They say it was linked. They say it was associated. They say it was connected. Those are lawyer words. Crisis words. Words you use when you can't prove what you want people to believe. Now here's what they won't put on camera. The bullet taken from Charlie Kirk's body does not match the rifle they're trying to attach to Tyler. That's not speculation. It's the reason the ballistic report is sealed and not paraded across the news like every other high-profile case. If the data served their version, you would have seen it already, with graphics, commentary, and round-the-clock coverage. Instead, silence. No caliber confirmation. No firing pin analysis. No barrel striation match. No chain of custody transparency. Ask yourself, if they had a slam dunk match between bullet and gun, would they hesitate for even a second to put it on every platform available? Of course not. They would weaponize the evidence to end the debate before it began. But they can't. Because the bullet doesn't match the weapon, and the weapon doesn't match the suspect. And that means something even bigger. If the gun doesn't line up, then Tyler was never supposed to. The suspect doesn't match the physics of the crime. The round that took Charlie Kirk's life came from someone else, somewhere else, using a different weapon that is conveniently missing from discussion. Instead of admitting that the ballistics contradict their accusation, they bury the test results, avoid specifics, and use media repetition to drown out scrutiny. They know most people won't ask for the report. They know headlines are louder than lab work. They know a narrative once set is hard to break. But here's the unedited truth. If the weapon is wrong, the shooter is wrong. And if the real gun isn't the one tied to Tyler, then the real shooter isn't Tyler either. And that raises the question they're most afraid of. If Tyler didn't fire that shot, who did? Let's talk about the one thing you're guaranteed to have at a high-profile event in 2025 cameras. Not one, not five, dozens from security systems, live stream rigs, personal phones, venue feeds, even crowd media crews. Yet somehow, in the most filmed environment imaginable, the crucial moment, the angle that would show the shooter, is either missing, blurred, cropped, or conveniently under review. That's not coincidence. That's curation. They'll show you the chaos after the gunshot. They'll show you Tyler being detained. But they won't show you the instant the trigger was pulled. They won't release the full clip from the angle behind Charlie Kirk. They won't show the elevated camera feed that overlooks the room. And here's the real giveaway. Multiple outlets have already reported that law enforcement requested footage be withheld for investigative integrity. No, when the evidence supports the official claim, they flaunt it. They only hide it when it contradicts them. And consider this. Every witness video that surfaced online was flagged, blurred, or taken down almost immediately. The excuse? Ongoing investigation. Yet the accusation against Tyler was not considered ongoing. They were comfortable naming him publicly before looking at every angle. Ask yourself, where is the raw, uncut footage? Where is the hallway security feed? Where is the balcony shot? Where are the timestamps from the live stream? They don't want you to see them, because those frames don't show Tyler holding a weapon. They don't show him anywhere near the line of fire when the shot was taken. If the visual evidence backed the claim, they would have played it on repeat across every network. Instead, they selectively leak still images, low angle, cut off, distant, just enough to suggest, never enough to prove. And the biggest red flag, multiple eyewitnesses reported seeing someone else, someone wearing different clothing, positioned in a different area, immediately before the shot. But those testimonies didn't make it into the press conferences. They weren't quoted. They weren't amplified. They were erased. When footage disappears and witnesses get edited out, it's not oversight, it's maintenance. Maintenance of a lie. So the question becomes, if the camera didn't capture Tyler firing the shot, did it capture someone else? Someone they don't want you to see. When a crime happens in a room full of people, there's one thing you can't avoid. Witnesses. Real ones. Not the polished, media-ready figures they roll out after the story has already been written, but the people who were actually close to the scene. And in this case, those voices weren't interviewed. They were filtered. Several attendees, who were near Charlie Kirk when the shot was fired, reported seeing someone else, a different build, different clothing, different position. Some mentioned a figure moving quickly toward an exit moments before security moved in. Others spoke about hearing the shot from a direction that didn't line up with where Tyler was standing or seated. But their statements never made it into official briefings. Instead, look at what they did. They presented only a handful of voices, the same ones, repeated across multiple outlets, each delivering the exact phrasing you'd expect if the narrative were preloaded. Clean, consistent, and perfectly aligned with the accusation. That's not witness testimony. That's message management. Where are the unedited interviews? Where are the full transcripts? Where are the people who contradicted the official story? The more you look, the more it becomes clear. Inconvenient witnesses never made it to the microphone. And the ones who did, their accounts were trimmed, reframed, or quoted out of context. And then there's the silence. Not natural, but enforced. People who tried to speak publicly online had posts taken down, comments filtered, or accounts by accident. That happens when the truth poses a threat to the script. If Tyler were the real shooter, authorities would showcase every eyewitness who saw him pull the trigger. They'd hold press conferences filled with direct accounts. They'd remind you on every platform, he was seen by multiple people in the act. But they haven't. Because that didn't happen. So what does that tell you? The witnesses who could confirm Tyler as the killer don't exist. And the ones who could prove otherwise are being buried. The truth isn't missing. It's actively being suppressed. Every crime has a timeline. But this one has two. The real one, and the one they scripted. Let's break down what they don't want you to compare. The shot was fired at a specific, documented moment. People flinched. Cameras caught reactions. Audio equipment picked it up. Yet the official timeline they released doesn't line up with where Tyler actually was at that time. Multiple reports place him away from the line of fire, either exiting a hallway, standing off to the side, or in conversation with others. But magically, the moment news outlets repeated his name, all those timestamps disappeared, replaced with vague descriptions like near the vicinity and seen at the event. This is how manufactured guilt works. Remove the clock and replace it with a feeling. Look closer at the gaps. No time-stamped footage, placing Tyler at the exact location of the shot. No confirmed minute-by-minute positioning of his movements. No synchronized log showing where he was before, during and after the incident. Even worse, the official timeline of events was changed, quietly and after the fact. Early reports mentioned a suspect fleeing. That line vanished. Early witnesses mentioned someone in a different section of the venue. Those comments disappeared. The time of the medical response shifted between updates. And nobody is explaining why. If Tyler had truly fired the shot, the timeline would be their strongest weapon. They would put clocks, maps, and charts on the screen to wipe away doubt. Instead, they're banking on people not asking when anything actually happened. The question isn't just where was Tyler. It's why did they erase where he wasn't? A real investigation locks down minutes. A cover-up blurs them. They didn't reconstruct the timeline. They rewrote it. They didn't place Tyler at the scene. They removed anything that proved he wasn't. And once you doctor the clock, you can frame anyone for anything. When truth supports the official narrative, it's published. When it doesn't, it disappears. Look at what's been locked away under the excuse of ongoing investigation or national security relevance. The ballistic analysis, the full autopsy details, the complete surveillance footage, the internal comms between agencies, and the unredacted witness reports. That's not transparency. That's obstruction dressed up as procedure. They know exactly what they're doing. Sealing evidence keeps the public obedient, and the narrative untouchable. Normally, after a high-profile shooting, officials leak something to prove they've got the right person. A weapon photo, forensics statement, eyewitness ID, timestamps, admissions, something that pins it down. Here, nothing but press releases and repetition. Not one conclusive document has been made public tying Tyler Robinson to the trigger. And the most suspicious part, they're not just withholding, they're restricting who can even look. Independent investigators, blocked. Journalists asking questions, dismissed. Attorneys trying to access the raw files, delayed, denied, or redirected. If the evidence proved their story, it would be broadcast, not buried. And think about the language. Sealed in the interest of stability, restricted to prevent misinformation, deferred until further notice. Those phrases don't protect justice. They protect liars. The only thing being secured here is the cover. Meanwhile, any data that could clear Tyler, like phone GPS logs, location pings, time-stamped entry and exit scans, proximity tracking, or unaltered footage, stays hidden because it doesn't put him at the scene of the shot. Silence isn't neutrality, it's intent. They are not waiting to reveal the truth. They're waiting for the public to stop caring. So ask yourself, if the evidence proved Tyler was guilty, why is everything that could confirm it locked away, while everything that could destroy the narrative is kept out of sight? Because the files don't incriminate him. They incriminate the story built around him. If Tyler Robinson didn't fire the shot, and the evidence shows he didn't, then someone else did. Someone with access. Someone positioned correctly. Someone who vanished from the story the second his name was introduced. That's not an accident. That's substitution. The real shooter blended into the environment, exited without exposure, and was wiped from the narrative the moment Tyler became the decoy. That's how professional framing works. You don't chase the truth. You replace it. Think about what's been buried. A ballistic report that doesn't match the weapon pinned on Tyler. Witness accounts redirected, silenced or cut from coverage. Camera angles missing at the exact moment of the shot. A timeline rewritten after the fact to close off questions. Files sealed not to protect the public, but to protect the lie. Now look at what hasn't happened. No public trial date with open evidence. No release of security footage showing Tyler firing a weapon. No confirmation of gunshot residue tests on him. No successful match tying his DNA or fingerprints to the rifle. No confession. No motive. No direct proof. But the media keeps repeating his name like a spell. Because repetition replaces reality when facts get in the way. And here's the part they pray no one says out loud. Who benefits from Charlie Kirk's death? And who benefits from blaming someone who didn't do it? Authorities don't misidentify shooters by accident. They don't ignore exonerating data unless it points somewhere dangerous. They don't seal files unless exposure hurts them more than silence. And they don't rush to name one man unless naming the right one would open a door they can't close. Tyler isn't the end of this story. He's the shield standing in front of the truth. The cracks are already showing. Journalists are asking why evidence is sealed. Leaks are hinting at inconsistencies. Whispers behind the scenes suggest people know more than they're allowed to say. Families of witnesses are being warned not to get involved. And the one person they keep isolated is the only one who could tell you he wasn't even there when the trigger was pulled. So where does that leave us? With a dead public figure, a fake suspect, a buried shooter, and a system pretending the case is closed. They think time will erase the questions. They think headlines will outlive the truth. They think Tyler Robinson is easy to sacrifice. But a lie this big doesn't stay intact forever. Especially when the foundation is cracking from the inside. And when it breaks, the story they built won't just collapse. It'll expose every name, every motive, and every coward who helped bury the real shooter while framing the wrong man. This isn't over. It never was. And the truth they thought they erased is the one coming for them next. They believe silence will save them. They believe time will erase doubt. They believe the name Tyler Robinson will carry the blame long enough for the public to forget there was ever another possibility. But they miscalculated one thing. Once a lie is exposed, it can't be put back in the box. This isn't about conspiracy. It's about convenience. It's about an establishment picking the easiest target, the quietest name, the person least equipped to fight back, and throwing him into the fire to protect whoever actually pulled that trigger. And now the question is no longer did Tyler do it. The question is how many people worked to make you think he did? Because somebody wrote the headline before the evidence existed. Somebody scrubbed the footage before the public saw it. Somebody sealed the files before the defense could speak. And somebody out there knows exactly where the real shooter is. Because they helped him walk away. So don't let them close this conversation. Don't let them rewrite the ending. Don't let another manufactured suspect become another buried reality. If Tyler Robinson is innocent, and the evidence they're hiding says he is, then the real killer is still out there. And the ones protecting that truth are counting on you to move on. Not here, not now. This story doesn't end with their lie. It ends when the truth they buried finally speaks. And when the people who built this cover finally get dragged into the light they've been hiding from since day one. Stay loud. Stay focused. This isn't finished.